Hi guys, in this session we are going to discuss inverse function. So what is an inverse function? First of all, let's say we have a function f of s is equal to s plus 2. So if we plug in any number in place of s, so let's say we plug in 5 in place of s, so this will be f of 5 is going to be 5 plus 2 is 7, right? So when we are looking at inverse function, what we want to do is to find a function which we call f raised to the power of minus 1. So this is the notation we use to denote inverse function. So what an inverse function is some function that will take the value of 7, that will take this value of 7, then it will bring us back to 2. So that is to say, from 5 we got 7, right? So an inverse function is going to take this value of 7, is going to bring us back to 5. So this is the inverse. So we denote this as f raised to the power of minus 1. So by looking at this, we can say that the inverse function of f of s, which is f raised to the power of minus 1 of s, is going to be equal to s minus 2, because if we plug in 7 in place of s, it's going to be 7 minus 2 is going to give us 5. So now as you can see, 7 is giving us 5, and also 5 is giving us 7. So this is the inverse. So this is what we know as inverse function. So let's look at an example in order to fully understand this. So let's look at an example. Okay, so now we are going to find the inverse of this function f of s is equals to 3s minus 2 divide 8. We are also going to find the inverse of f of s is equals to 3s minus 2. Then lastly, we are going to find the inverse of g of s is equals to the square root of s minus 3. So let's take a look at the first one. So the inverse of this, we can write it as f raised to the power of minus 1 of s. So this is what we are looking for, the inverse of this function. So now, we can also write this as y is equals to 3s minus 2 over 8. So guys, the first step we are going to take here is whenever we see y, we are going to plug s, and whenever we see s, we are going to plug y. So the y and the s are kind of like interchanging each other. So now we are going to say this is s is equals to 3y minus 2 over 8. So now we are not going to solve for the value of y. So how do we do that? We have to first of all multiply both sides by 8 so that we get rid of this 8. So this is going to be 8s is equals to 3y minus 2, right? So now we need to take this minus 2 to the other side of the equation so that 3y will stand alone. So this is going to be 8s plus 2 is going to give us 3y. So y is equals to 8s plus 2 over 3. So the inverse of this function is 8s plus 2 divide 3. But guys, we are always going to check our answer so that we need to know if this is actually correct or not. So we are going to check this. So guys, we are now going to plug in any number. That is, we are going to plug in any number into the original function. So let's say we plug in 6. So let's say s is equals to 6, right? So whenever we see s, we're going to plug in 6 into the original function. So this is going to be f of 6, right? Is equals to, so 3 multiplied by 6 minus 2. right? Then divide 8. So what would this give us? 3 multiplied by 6 is 18. 18 minus 2 is 16. 16 divided 8 is going to give us 2. So now, we are not going to take this value of 2. We are not going to plug it into the inverse function. So if we get the same value as 6, this means our answer is indeed correct. So let's check. So we're not going to plug in the value of 2. So we're going to say f is to the power of minus 1 of 2. So we are going to plug this 2 into the inverse function. So this is going to give us 8 multiplied by 2 plus 2 over 3. So 8 multiplied by 2 is 16. 16 plus 2 is 18. 18 divided 3 is going to give us 6. So guys, as you can see, we got back the same value of 6. So this means that this answer is indeed correct. So this is indeed the inverse of this function. So let's take a look at the second one. F of s is equals to 3s minus 2. So guys, like I said, we're going to plug in y in place of s, and we're going to plug in s in place of y. So this is y is equals to 3s minus 2. So now this is going to be s is equals to 3y minus 2, right? So we are going to solve for y now. So this minus 2 is going to close to the other side. So this will be s plus 2 is equals to 3y. So we're going to divide both sides by 3 to get rid of this 3. So this is going to be y is equals to s plus 2 over 3. So guys, we're also going to check this to know if this is actually the inverse or not. So we are also going to plug in the value of 6 into the original function. So doing this, we have f of 6 is equals to, so this is going to be 3 multiplied by 6 minus 2. So what will this give us? 3 multiplied by 6 is 18. 18 minus 2 is 16. So now, we're not going to take in this value of 16. We are going to plug it into the inverse function. So if we get back the same value of 6, meaning this answer is indeed correct. So this is going to be f raised to the power of minus 1 of 16 is equals to, so this will be 16 plus 2 divide 3, right? So 16 plus 2 is 18. 18 divided 3 is going to give us 6. So guys, as you can see, we got back the same value of 6. So this is indeed the inverse of this function. So let's take a look at the last one, which is g of s is equals to the square root of s minus 3. So now, we are going to, that is, wherever we see y, we are going to plug in s, and wherever we see s, we are going to plug in y. So we can write, first of all, we can write this as y is equals to square root of s minus 3. So now this is going to be s is equals to square root of y minus 3. So we have to get rid of this square root. How do we do that? We have to take the square of both sides. So this is going to be s squared is equals to square root of s minus 3 square. So this square is going to cancel the square roots. So we are left with s squared is equals to y minus 3. So we need to make y stand alone. So this is going to be s squared. So when minus 3 crosses to the other side of the equation, it's going to give us plus 3 is equals to y. So basically y is equals to s squared plus 3. So the inverse of this function, right? So the inverse of this function, g raised to the power of minus 1 of s, is going to give us s squared plus 3. So guys, we also need to check this, if this is actually the inverse or not. So we are going to take the same number, the same s value as 6. So we are going to plug this s value into the original function. So this is going to be f of 6 is equals to 3, right? So this is going to be f of 6 is equals to the square root of 6 minus 3. So the square root of 6 minus 3 is basically the square root of 3. So now we're not going to take in this value this value, which is the square root of 3, we are going to plug it into the inverse function. So this is going to be f raised to the power minus 1 of the square root of 3. It's going to give us the square root of 3 square, right, plus 3. So this square is going to cancel this square root. So this is going to be 3 plus 3 is going to give us s. So guys, as you can see, we got back the same value of 6. So this is indeed the inverse of this function. So guys, this is how we solve the inverse of a function.